Hi, I'm Glenn Rogers, and this is American Perspectives. In this video, we're going to talk about whether or not college and university should be tuition-free. The short answer, in my view, is no, it should not. Well, why not? Well, that's a good question. Why shouldn't it not be free? K through 12 education is free, so why not have tuition-free college? It's a very important question, and lots of people are interested in that question, especially college students and perhaps their parents who are having to pay the bill. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, I want to ask you to help me out and subscribe to this channel. There's a little button down there below. If you click on it, you'll subscribe to the channel. Now, doing that doesn't cost you anything. It's not like a magazine subscription or anything. There's no cost, no obligation or anything like that. It's just a way of telling YouTube that you like the content of these videos, and it helps move the video up through their algorithm so more people get a chance to see it. So it would be very helpful if you did that. Maybe click the thumbs up button as well. There's places where you can leave comments. I would love to get comments from people. And you can also share these videos and send them to other media. That would just be really helpful. Okay, so the idea of tuition-free college. What's wrong with it? I'm saying no, we shouldn't have tuition-free college. And the objection that always comes up is, well, you know, K through 12 education is free. Why can't we have higher education free also? And I think that is a legitimate question. We used to talk about that a lot when I was in the classroom. In my sociology classes, we would talk about whether or not college should be tuition-free. Let me give you my take on it. I think the offer of free college is just basically a fancy fishing lure to hook young people and working class parents into thinking that they're going to get something for free. And what it really is this idea of, you know, a vote for me means free stuff for you. The candidates who are out there, like Bernie Sanders and others who were saying, you know, we need to make college tuition free. But the reality is nothing is free. And I'll get to that in a moment. But this idea of offering free education, many thousands of dollars, where students who are getting their college education for free, not having to pay, I think that's closely associated with this idea of vote for me, the candidate says, and I'll see that you'll get a free college education. And there are just several things wrong with that. What are they? What will happen if the left finds a way to get tuition-free college enacted? Well, basically, one of the things it would do is that it would extend basic education from K through 12 to include the first 4 years of college. So what you would have then is a K through 16. Instead of K through 12, you would have K through 16 government-controlled education. I can remember several years ago, must be at least 10, 12 years ago now, when I was still in the classroom, we would have days where everybody at the college had to show up for a day of what they called professional enhancement, and they would invite speakers to come in and talk to us. And they had some people who would come in and talk about the fact that we need to have K through 16 education, and that would mean that the government would control the curriculum in college, just like it controls the curriculum right now in K through 12 schools. You knew, right, that the government controls the K through 12 curriculum. It does. Now, unless you're sending your kids to a private school or a religious school or something like that. But in public school, the government, since it gives a great deal of money to every state for education, has specific things that they require be in the curriculum. And what that means is a school isn't free to choose its own curriculum. Even in locations, parents who live in that location, who send their kids to schools in that neighborhood, don't really have any say over what does or doesn't get taught in that school. The government mandates certain things, and if you want the government money, then you have to follow the government curriculum. So basically at that point then, if we had K through 16, the government would be mandating a college curriculum. And the question is, do we want that? The first thing that most professors would say, well, so much for academic freedom, so much for the free thinking that has always characterized higher education. When you're a college professor, you get to decide what your course curriculum is going to be, what you're going to discuss, what you're not going to discuss, what they're going to read, the standards that are going to be developed for your course. It's your course, and you're teaching it. You're the specialist. Many people are concerned that not too long after the government takes over college, education costs, they'll take over the college education curriculum. And one of the things that surely would mean is that the standards for college degree would be reduced even further than they already have been. As someone who used to teach freshman and sophomore students, we would get students come there who were high school graduates, who many of them could barely read, could barely write. Their analytical thinking skills were almost non-existent. They had trouble with even basic math. And this is what government school, or rather government-controlled K through 12 schools was producing, students who really couldn't compete. Now, don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean that every K through 12 graduate from a public school is somehow substandard and can't think, can't write, can't read. That's not the case. There are many very capable students across the country who go directly from high school into a very good senior university and do just fine. But the numbers of students who cannot compete as students could generations ago is growing. And it's because the standards have been lowered. And that's a concern. We don't need the government to control our institutions of higher education. Why would they even want to? Why does the government want to offer free college? Well, because if they're taking away the costs from the families, from the students, and putting more money in to cover those costs, then they get to control the curriculum, and at that point they're going to be able to use the schools as a training ground for people who eventually will embrace the idea of massive government control, including restructuring American society to be socialistic. Now, every time I say something like that, I know there are people who go, oh, geez, another one of those conspiracy theory nuts who thinks the government's out to do something. And well, if you read enough, and if you listen enough, and if you observe enough, you realize this is not a conspiracy theory. This is actually what is happening. There are people in this country, they even admit it. They admit it on the evening news, if you're paying attention. They talk about changing America, restructuring America. They want to make America different from what it has always been. They don't like the values that made America what America is, and they want to change those values. They want to make America into a different kind of society, and they want it to be socialist and all that goes with that. Okay, and that's not a conspiracy theory. This is something that they have been emboldened to talk about, and they will freely talk about it. The question is not whether or not what I'm saying is true. The question is whether or not you understand it, whether or not you believe it, and whether or not you're okay with that. Do you want that sort of thing to happen? I certainly don't. About 75 other million other Americans don't want that to happen. So, that's one of the main concerns that we have to look at, because from the people who are saying, well, we need to eliminate college tuition and make it free for everyone. It's very disconcerting. Another reason why free college is not a good idea is simply because college isn't free. Okay, it's not free. There isn't anything that's free, ultimately. Offering higher education is a very expensive proposition. Land has to be purchased, and buildings have to be built, and there are books and salaries and utilities and all sorts of things, insurances and all sorts of things. And it's very expensive. Excuse me. If students don't pay a portion of those costs, who's going to? Who's going to pay for this free education? Free education that doesn't really exist, because there is no free anything. Well, the people who are going to pay for it are the taxpayers. Well, here's my question. How is it right? And how is it just? The social justice people are very, very concerned about developing society that's fair and just for everybody. Okay, well, how is it fair and just to increase the taxes on successful people so that you can offer higher education to everyone so that they don't have to pay for it? Somebody else is paying the bill for them. You see, how is that fair? How is that right and just? The government takes money from successful people already for all sorts of things. The tax code is set up so that the more money you earn, the higher percentage of taxes you're going to pay. It's not just the more money you earn, the more taxes you pay, but a higher percentage of your income you pay. And they use that money then for all sorts of different things. One of the things they're trying to do right now, and this is a good thing, okay, they're trying to develop alternative sources of energy, renewable energy. Now, I don't have any problem with renewable energy. I mentioned this the other day in another of our videos. I like clean air and clean water as much as the next guy, right? But that costs a lot of money to develop those things, and they're already taking money and spending it to do that. They're talking about taking money for universal health care. That's going to be an enormous bill. They're talking about making medical insurance available to people who aren't citizens in this country, even to illegal aliens. You could go on with a list and come up with at least a half dozen other things that they're going to take taxes from successful people in order to pay for all of this stuff. Well, you take and you take and you take and you take and you take, and pretty soon there's nothing left to take. There is no bottomless well of wealth. People have to earn that money. And even if you're very wealthy, the government can only take so much of it for so many years before there's not really anything left to take. One of the things that happens when the government just keeps taking and taking and taking is that they destroy the incentive to earn. Why should somebody go and spend all the time and energy and sacrifice all that has to be sacrificed to be successful and make a good deal of money, only to have the government come along and take it, and then take more, and then take more, and they just keep taking and taking so they can hand it out to other people? How long is that money going to last? How long is that resource going to stay there? Not very long. Most people would be surprised at how soon the money runs out when the government keeps raising the taxes and taking it from successful people. You see, education is a tool that one uses in life. It's just like any other useful tool, whether it be a hammer or a saw, that kind of tool, or a computer or a calculator, or any other kind of tool. It costs money, and it takes work to acquire it. A college degree is not something to be given. It is something to be earned, and that includes paying for it. So, tuition-free college? No, I don't think so. It hasn't ever been free, and it doesn't ever need to be free. Okay, those are my thoughts for the day. You might agree, you might disagree, but I thank you for watching. And let me encourage you again to consider subscribing to our channel. It would be really helpful to us. So thanks for watching, and I hope you'll watch again.